Hello, toxic relationship transformation community. It's probably been a while since I've done a live, and for some reason I just felt compelled to come on here. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany Rose Green. I'm the curator of this community. I started it back in 2019, 2018, around then, and my whole mission is to help serve as many people and healing their relationship stories and to reclaiming their power after being in unhealthy and wounded toxic relationships and dynamics. And so I think today's conversation, Fear of Abandonment, is actually perfect. A perfect next video for our community because it's one that plagues a lot of you. So I did a poll, I don't know, like last week or a week and a half ago, about some of the fears that you guys hold, which kind of stops you or prevents you from being in healthy relationships. And fear of abandonment was the top one. And I know it very well. As a child of a narcissist, I definitely have felt that before, right? The emotional abandonment, not really feeling like I was chosen or that people would choose me. And so, of course, because of my fear and the way that the world works in some odd way, our fears tend to be the things that kind of show up, right? So the things that we ruminate the most about, the things that we hold to or cling so tightly to end up showing up in our world and validate the very fears that we have. So because I was so fearful of being abandoned or not being chosen, not being chosen is really how I converted my fear of abandonment. But because my family and my parents never left me or abandoned me, right? I still had them, but emotionally I felt abandoned. I never felt as though I was good enough for doing the right things and that people just didn't care what I had to say, oddly enough. And here I am as a coach talking to you guys and thousands of other people. And I just feared that I wouldn't be chosen. And a lot of this was about abandonment, right? It was about being abandoned and not like my soul not being, again, chosen or desirable enough. So when we look at our history and try to understand where this abandonment aspect comes from, this is the part of the work that you'll need to do for yourself. It's like, when did this abandonment show up? A lot of the people that I work with, it comes because of their parents being neglectful, or their parents choosing another child over them, or actually like having a parent who abandons the family, right? So chooses another family or chooses not to stay in the family, or divorce also elicits the fear of abandonment as well. Even if the relationships are healthier because of the divorce, there's still this fear of abandonment because the family unit was separated. So discerning where that starts for you can be really helpful in learning how to heal from it. Because this fear of abandonment will prevent you from getting into deeper connections and deeper relationships with people. It will prevent you from actually attracting healthy partnerships, because unfortunately, when we have a fear of abandonment, because the way that the law of attraction works, the way that this works, is that we will attract people that resonate with the energy that we are also emitting. Because if we can prevent and protect ourselves from being abandoned by choosing people who abandon us anyway, because now it's just like, well, we already know they're going to do it, so that feels more comfortable, right? And it makes no sense. It sounds so confusing. It doesn't make any sense, but it's an unconscious pattern. It's an unconscious belief that is like geared to protect you, but in reality, it's not protecting you anymore, right? Maybe it felt that way. Maybe it was something that you had to develop. This fear, right? This hypervigilance to wait and look to see if someone's going to leave you or abandon you, and it allowed you to not build deeper connections with people because that was your protection as a child. But now that you're older and you want deeper connection and you want intimacy in relationships, we don't want to use the frequency of that energy to attract people who will abandon us, right? Who will confirm our beliefs about abandonment. Instead, we want to heal that part of our younger self, that part of ourselves that had to develop that protection mechanism so that we can start to attract people who will not abandon us, right? And unfortunately, when you hold on to this, when you have this fear of abandonment for a long time, it's deeply rooted. So even when you are healing and you attract a healthy partner, that fear is going to come up. It comes up a lot. And part of it is just learning how to sit with the feelings and to give a voice to the feelings and to not allow the feelings to take over and control you and stop you from continuing on the path to deeper intimacy and relationships with other people. Because I've I've experienced this so many times where the fear of abandonment will kick up and I'm like, fuck, what do I do? And I want to run, right? Or I want to dismiss the relationship and say it's not really that big of a deal. And if I do that, then obviously what is that doing? That's protecting me from building deeper connections and intimacy with the people that I really want, the people that I'm actually excited about getting to know. And so you just have to learn how to wrestle with this. So first, understanding where it comes from. If you can understand and discern where it starts, then it gives you a lot more clarity. So when I know that, okay, my fear of abandonment started when I was like 11 and X and Y and Z happened. And I know that I'm no longer an 11-year-old anymore. Like I know I have a lot more resources in my tool belt now. I know that I actually have more power of choice now because I'm a grown woman and I have the ability to make choices in a different way. And I also know that because of my experiences, I have made I'm just I'm better at knowing whether or not someone's a good person or a good fit for me, right? So these are just like some ways that I'll like talk myself into just leaning in a little bit further, right? To just trusting that whatever the situation that's arising me, even though I'm having fear about it, that fear of abandonment that's getting kicked up, that I can actually sit with it. I don't have to do anything. I can just sit with that feeling and just see if it subsides. Now, if the person that I'm experiencing that fear with, right, because of their behaviors, if their behaviors mirror or mimic things that are familiar from my childhood, and if I try to share that, right, I use my voice to share what I'm witnessing and I get dismissed or I get pushed down or they become defensive, well, then now I know that protection mechanism is actually serving its purpose. And I can leave and let that relationship go. And now it's not actually them abandoning me, it's me choosing myself, right? So that's me learning how to reclaim my power. And that's really what you want to do. You want to learn how to reclaim your power. Oh, hey, Lynette. Hey, girl. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Um, and so you really want to learn how to reclaim your power from these situations, utilizing the very fear that you hold, which is that you're afraid that someone's going to leave you. You're afraid that someone's going to choose someone else. But at the end of the day, if you're choosing yourself, does it matter? If you're choosing yourself, if we really can harness the belief that like what is meant for us will not pass us by, right? What is meant for us will not pass us by, then it doesn't matter if someone comes into your life or leaves, or if someone chooses another path, or if you have to choose another path. It just means that relationship dynamic is done, right? We hold on to these things. The reason why fear of abandonment has such a stronghold in most of us, because we're holding on to it too tightly. We're holding on to this idea that someone else is supposed to be the one choosing us, that someone else is the person who has the control over our happiness, over our ability to love. And it's just not true, right? We have those choices. We have to be the one to engage in them. We have to be the one to enact them. And the only way that happens is if we decide to identify where this fear showed up in the first place, acknowledge that it is a fear that we hold, recognize that we're adults and we can change the patterning right here, right now, sit with that feeling, communicate our feelings to the person that we're feeling that is triggering that response in us, and then be a witness. bear witness. Do they respond well? Do they show you that they're actually still safe? Or do they show you exactly what you fear? And if that's the truth, then that protection mechanism of being afraid served its purpose. And now you can let that relationship go and call into your life somebody who's actually going to be better aligned with you, better aligned with where you are now. All of this is a process, right? We have to learn that this is a process of, to me, I like to call it an excavation process. We have to go back in time and excavate those fears that we've been holding on to so tightly for so long. And we have to recognize that they no longer have power over us anymore. That it's okay if somebody wants to leave our life now. Like, fine, if you want to leave my life, then thank you. You're saving me a lot of heartache down the road. You're saving me a lot of energy that I could have been wasting on you. You know, energy is precious. Time is even more precious, right? We can't get that back. So to just allow people, like, to not be so caught up in the, I'm trying to think of the words, like the notion that people have the ability to abandon you, right? Even that word abandon, it's like, to me, I just think of an abandoned house, right? No one loves it, nobody cares for it, it's just like there. But truly, if the house had the ability, the house would probably care for itself, right? The house would probably, like, repair its hinges and its doors, paint itself if it could. Like, we have to be the one to repair that story. We no longer have to be, we don't give people that power to abandon us. If they want to leave because they feel like something else is better out there, well, that's their prerogative. They have that choice, they have that right. And it can be painful, and there's a grieving process. We're not denying that there is a grieving process for that. But to use that label of being abandoned, especially now that we're adults, we were abandoned as children when we had no resources, no ability to take care of ourselves, no wherewithal or knowledge of the world, right? We needed to rely on our families and our parents in order for that need to get met. But as adults, no one has the power to abandon you, honey. No one. If someone leaves on their own fruition, if someone leaves and makes that choice, well then, girl, paint your house. Okay, get yourself back together, put yourself together, remember who you are, remember where you come from, you know become the woman that you know that you've always been. And then nobody has the ability to abandon you ever, right? It's just another process of learning. It's just another growth pattern. It's just another step in your journey to becoming the woman that you are, the woman that you know you are. So this fear of abandonment, for some reason, I just wanted to tackle this for like just a quick second today, because it gets brought up so often. It's the one fear that I find that people stay in bad relationships for, or they avoid love because of it. And I don't want anyone staying in a bad relationship, nor do I want you to pretend like you don't want to be in love anymore. Like, some people really, I do believe that some people are just like, no, I'm like good. But that the way that they say the energy is different. But some people are like, oh, I don't need a man. Like, it's like blah, blah, blah. Or, like, you can sense that there's like this undertone of like, well, actually, I'm just afraid that someone's not, like, once I finally find somebody that I love again, they're not going to choose me, right? That they're going to leave me, just like my last partner did. And we just want to release the hold and the grip of that word. Somebody might leave, but they don't have the ability to abandon you. The only person who has the ability to abandon you is you. Self-abandonment is really what you're worried about. How am I going to lose myself? How am I going to let myself go? How am I going to stop being available for me and taking over, taking responsibility for everyone else? That is really what we're afraid of when it comes to fear of abandonment. And so we have to remember that no one has the power over us, and we have the power to choose to be in ourselves, to not self-abandon, to show up. It's easy to self-abandon. I mean, if you I don't even have kids, and I don't even know how you moms do it, if I'm honest. Like, that's so easy to self-abandon because your babies need you, right? So you lose bits of yourself in order to provide for them. But there's a period of time where you come to know that actually that's not serving them anymore, right? Like, if I'm unhappy and I'm not taking care of myself, that's not serving my children. Like, I need to actually pour into myself more so that they can see how important it is to pour into themselves, right? We want to teach our children not to self-abandon by being the examples. Same thing happens in relationships and marriages and partnerships, especially if you are codependent, or especially if you really just have this deep desire to be with someone and you finally get in that relationship and you just abandon yourself. Abandon yourself. I've been there. I'm an ultimate, if you're a people pleaser like me, like ultimate people pleaser, you just always are abandoning yourself for other people. And unfortunately, that's not doing anybody any services. It's not doing anybody any justice. In fact, if anything, it's teaching people the wrong version of you. Because no one can self-abandon for the rest of their lives. No one can people please for the rest of their life. At some point, your needs are going to matter. And if you don't start putting them first, no one else will. No one else will. So we have to realize, again, it's not about fear of abandonment, right? There may be examples in our life where that happened to us, but it's really it's about us abandoning ourselves. Everything is about the self. When we can start to heal ourselves from within, then we will start to see that reflected outwardly. And this concept is so difficult at first, right? But when you, like anything, it just takes practice, it takes courage, it takes time. And, I know there are a lot of different situations and circumstances with which you are going through life right now. So just do what you can today to just choose yourself so that no one has the power to take that choice from you. So that no one has the power to abandon you, right? Because you still have autonomy. You're not like an abandoned house. No. An abandoned house is inanimate. It can't repair its own walls. It can't do anything like that. You can. You absolutely can. All right, so I hope this message spoke to you. If it did, let me know. Feel free to leave comments or questions, and I'll come through a little later and respond and answer them. But thank you so much, Lynette, for watching. And for anybody who's going to watch the replay, let me know that you're here. And have a great Wednesday, you guys.